A very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the second episode of the AIESEC Sri Lanka podcast through the eyes of a trendsetter. And I am your host, Mr. Arfan Nazar, current MCVP for Incoming Global Talent of AIESEC Sri Lanka. Today, we have a very interesting guest with us who is here to talk on a very specific and a very amazing theme. So, the theme goes as this: it is impossible to I am possible. And it is through the eyes of this AIESEC trendsetter. And my guest today is none other than Mr. Isuru Premathilaka, who is the current AIESEC International Regional Director for Asia Pacific. He was previously the Regional Manager, Entity Development for AIESEC in Asia Pacific in the term 1920, and he was the president of AIESEC in Sri Lanka in the term 1819, national director for customer experience of AIESEC in Vietnam in the term 1718, and the member committee vice president for incoming global volunteer of AIESEC in Sri Lanka in the term 1617. So it's a huge array of experience. Isuru, it's a very proud and good privilege for me to have you here as our guest for the second episode.
Hello, Arfan. Yeah, thank you so much for having me here and the introduction. It is a pleasure to talk to membership for AIESEC in Sri Lanka.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for accepting this invitation. Okay, so sort of jumping straight into the questions. Like out of the ordinary, only few people manage to stand out as trendsetters. And being an organization like AIESEC, we are striving to produce the leaders and the next set of people who disrupt and who change things. We are very honored to present. We are very honored that you, as an AIESEC in Sri Lanka alumni, as a member who grew up in this entity, you have amassed such a reputation and such a position within the organization, within AIESEC itself, and you have changed AIESEC in Sri Lanka, and you have etched your name in the history books. So tell us a bit about yourself and what inspired you and the kind of journey that led you to go to where you are today, and just a bit about yourself so that the people, our listeners who are listening, they get inspired and they know your journey.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the great introduction, Arfan. Yeah, like I think that's one thing in terms of working in the organization and for a couple of years and being here today. Looking back, I think it was a very interesting journey for me personally, and I really enjoyed it. That I think that's the most important part. And so yeah, I think like for me, like if I'm talking about what inspired me to be here today and what makes me here, and I think one thing that, like, honestly, I would say one simple thing, which is the people. Like if I look back, I would say like I get the chance to work with a lot of different people in this AIESEC journey in the past couple of years, and also like that influence that they created on me, as well as the influence that the learning that I can gain through working with them, was one major thing that inspired me to be here, like working with them and understanding them. And it's a very interesting thing in terms of seeing how different people work, as well as seeing different nationalities. Like it's not only like, oh, people from Sri Lanka, but it's also from people from different part of the world, as well as like what kind of journeys that they go through in their life, and how much learning that you can get for your life through that. So I think there is one major thing that inspired me the most to be here. But apart from that, yeah, I think like yeah, as I said, like it's a very mesmerizing journey. I think it's very limited opportunity that a lot of people might not get, in terms of like like in this kind of age, like where you get a chance to go to different countries, work with different people, and work in a global organization. I think that is a rare opportunity. I'm very grateful that I get the chance to go through that.
Amazing. And I'm pretty sure like the people who have experience working with you can relate to it. Like I personally had the privilege in my experience to work with you at some point in my AIESEC career. Okay, interesting. So moving on with the next question. So like what I want to know is like your journey. I'm pretty sure like just like any other, you've had your ups, you've had your downs, and through this entire experience, it created a lot of learning opportunities. And for you, what were the main challenges that you faced during your experiences in Sri Lanka? And I would also love to know more about the kind of challenges that you faced when you were working as the regional manager for Asia Pacific, and because definitely you've explored a different culture and different people while working in these roles, and how were you able to overcome them? I'm pretty sure because a lot of young people that we have in AIESEC right now do see the possibility of them applying for more roles in the future, and they could definitely get an interesting side of how you adapted to these things.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I think Arfan and me, like, we talk about this couple of times as well when we like hanging out, and you're trying to see like what are the differences in the culture in Sri Lanka, like working in Sri Lanka and working in different part of another part of the world or in the region itself. So I would say like the challenges are very okay. One part can be very different, and but other parts can be very similar. The different part I would say is like how the challenges that we face when you're working in the local context. If you are coming from this culture itself, if you are born and like raised up in Sri Lanka, then you might have you're familiar with the context, you're familiar with the environment, like you yeah, you lived with that, right? So like with that, like that part is like sometimes you don't even notice like this is a challenging part. Like, but when you go to another country, when you start working there, like you start noticing, okay, yeah, this is not where I was brought up. Like this is a completely different environment. I had to learn things, even like how to get a bus or how to get I mean like these things are very minute, but at the end of the day, like when you trying to do something, example, like whatever the, if you're working in a MC or if you're working in a, not even like, it doesn't need to be nice, like if you go somewhere and like if you really need to do something, but at this point, like these minor things are the one that comes to the execution level. When you go to the execution, these are things that actually matters. So this, when we are working here, these things become an privilege for us, and we start to yeah, we start to get around. But in here the challenges comes in, oh, like if you get a chance to work with different teams or different people, or like external factors that we don't really take into account in the beginning. I think this is one of the things that we experience many times. Like we try to do something, example, like if you build a, if you're a LC member, like if maybe we are trying to do a project, and at the end you have to cancel the project because, oh yeah, why not, the school says no, like you cannot get the foreign interns to my school anymore. So these kind of challenges, like, and so this is like more into execution level. When you go there, like you face these kind of difficulties and challenges, which of course like we also also get a chance to face in the different positions that I held in AIESEC in Sri Lanka. And then when you go to like global context, I think it's a different thing. Like one major challenge that I would say is the cultural integration. Like I would say this is something that we don't really notice as long as like we are in the local context, because one thing is that when you go there, like you see the people coming from different cultures, and the things that very normal to you are not normal to them anymore. Like it's not normal in a team context. If you're working with the, last year I was working in a team of 6 nationalities in the regional office, where they had
Wow.
different beliefs, they have different yeah, the beliefs coming into the place. And right now I'm working in a team of 20 nationalities. Is a completely different spectrum. So I think this is like are the things that we don't really see as challenges, but when you go there, like you understand, oh, like this is actually something that you need to be thinking about. But I think the learning part of that is that, I think if I go to the culture part, right, I think one of the major learning that I had in the past couple of years is like accepting people as who they are. Like this is, I don't know, like it's how deeply I can emphasize this factor in terms of how much that we can go into. Like I think this is something that we see in Sri Lanka, even in your local context, right? Maybe you're in a team, maybe you're in a working with different people, and you see like people coming from, maybe you're seeing a person coming from different perspective but don't really agree with, and maybe you see a person working in a different way which you don't really accept. Okay, this is not the way that I work. But I think like one thing that we need to accept is, so people are who they are, and like yes, they have capacity to change and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, if you need to be accepted for who you are, then you need to accept other people as who they are. And so how you do that, you develop empathy, you try to understand different people, different perspectives, you make generous assumptions about intention. Like this is one of my major learning in India. Like I think last time when we were working in a different nationalities, we see even when you imagine that you get and put an idea, like there can be a lot of people get defensive, or people say, oh like, oh, this is not going to work because of this reasons. But at the end of the day, if you look back and think, what is the intention of this person saying this, or it's for the same intention of getting thing done successfully, successfully, or it's not about, oh, like, oh, I want to be the a bigger person here, or like, no, like that is rarely that we observe in our organization. That is, I think that is something that it's a privilege again in AIESEC context itself, because I've seen like in outside it's a little bit different. But again, like I think this intention is something very important that you need to be thinking about. That can be applied for ourselves, even no matter where you're working in. Accept people as who they are. Make sure that you are practice empathy, um, as well as the make generous assumptions about the intention. That will help you to be a good team player. And yeah, at the end of the day, achieve your team goals.
Nice, nice. That's amazing. And I mean, just for our viewers, to kind of understand the experiences that Isuru is going through, like uh, from working in a team of 6 internationals or 20 internationals, I was really really interested with that, because in ISEC, the beauty of it is that you get to experience this diversity and you get to experience this cluster of so many different cultures, which is like fabulous, and this helps you grow as a person. All right. So as an organization, which an organization like ISEC, which what I've personally experienced and seen is like we really believe in the kind of values that we have, and our values are so clear. We have 6 values and we have 4 leadership qualities, and this is how we define a person or the kind of people that in an organization should behave. So values have been an integral part of what ISEC is and who are the people that ISEC takes. So coming to this question, my question to Isuru is that what is the leadership quality that you most admire and that you really take a lot? I'm pretty sure as an ISEC we take all 4, but what would be that leadership quality and what would be that value that you love to live up to the most, so that our viewers could get more understanding on this as well?
I think like this is something that we get the chance to reflect a little bit back. We're thinking about, okay, what if you, even if you look in the overall organization, what we see the most members practice as a value, what most members practice as leadership quality. I think like different people have different opinions for sure, but I think for me, if I had to pick up leadership quality for myself at DQ, I would pick self-aware. Why I'm picking this is basically, I believe this is and fundamental leadership quality. I believe like at the end of the day, like it's about you. It's about like individual as people, like what kind of how much you can build an understanding about yourself. And through that only you will an environment for other people to become better versions of themselves. So even if you think of a leadership perspective, like, okay, your role as a leader is to guide and set of people, a set of team members to achieve a goal. At the end of the day, if you're not very clear about what kind of person you are and what kind of leadership qualities that you have, strength, weaknesses, then you might not be doing a very good calling, guiding or coaching your team member in order to achieve the goal. So for me, like I believe this is as a fundamental quality, leadership quality for me. And I really like that. And then if I talk about and value, I think one value that I admire the most in from ISEC values is demonstrating integrity. So this why I'm picking this is this means to me is about being very open or being very transparent about your actions, or like for me this combine of different values that I see outside. One thing is accountability, like you as a person, how much accountability that you can take for your actions, and how much people trust you, right? So like when if you are very clear, if you are very vulnerable, if you are willing to go forward and say, okay, this is my intention, this is what I want to achieve, and then people who like they will be able to, it will be easy for them to connect with you, as well as there won't be any judgment toward your actions. And so I think this is something if every one of us can practice. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm practicing 100% perfectly every day, but this is something I'm striving to practice, and I believe that that will create a very open and very friendly environment and very safe environment for everyone in the organization and everyone around you. Yeah, so that's for me.
Amazing, and I really want to touch on the lines of trying every day, because what I really found interesting was that in ISEC, the thing is you really can't be the best person, but at the same time what happens is you get a lot of you get a lot of time and you get a lot of opportunity to learn and just to reflect and enjoy the process of just at the end of the day striving to become much more better. So adding on to the question of learning and growing as an individual in AIESEC, Isuru, I have a question. What was the best advice someone gave you in AIESEC, and how did that advice resonate with you?
Okay, it's a little bit difficult to reflect because okay, so I think like it's can come from different people, I guess. Because we have this concept of like inspiring leaders and triggering leaders in the organization, or like it's not only like ISEC but even like outside. I have met both for sure. Like I did had leaders who inspired me to become best, and as well as leaders who triggers me to do a good job. And but I think at the end of the day, the advice can either come from both of them. For me, I think like one thing. Okay, this sound a little bit. How can I say? Okay, I would say the best advice that I have received so far is like uh, you're part of something bigger than yourself, right? So I think that is something that triggers a lot of things that looking like it doesn't mean that you are insignificant. It doesn't mean that you are like you're not contributing or anything, but it's only means that whatever the like or whatever the things that going through around you or with you and all this stuff, like at the end of the day, like it's you're contributing to something much bigger or much better. Like why I don't want to like put this forward is because I don't want to sound it as like, oh, like whatever you do it you should be always like compromising yourself in order to like achieve the organization goals or like anything. But no, that's not what it is. It means about like the platform that you're working in right now, you have a responsibility toward building, making sure that people can come there and be as good as you or better than you in the future. So whatever the thing that you are going through, whatever thing that you're doing, you need to always think about, oh, there will be, and if you learn something from this organization, if you believe like you learn or you develop something to this organization, we have to admit that there will be another person out there who can do the same thing, who need to get the chance to do the same thing. That's an opportunity that we should do that. So I think like, so that is something we need to keep in our mind in terms of, or if we do something to harm this today, and if AIESEC is not there anymore, like tomorrow, there will be like around 1,000 of youth like who the chance, who could have gone the chance to opportunity to come here and become great leaders or do something great in the future, might lost it. So that's what it means by like you're part of something bigger than yourself for me. And I think that is one of the great advice that I received. So yeah, I think that is something that always drives me in terms of looking, saying, yeah, like that you need to, you have a responsibility, you have a thing to like pass it down to the next generations in the organization. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And definitely, I would like to touch a bit upon that is that a lot of the times, like we talk about sustainability of ISEC, like when you come to the organization, more than like developing yourself, it's very essential to make sure that you're giving something back to the organization so that the next person coming in can develop leadership and can experience ISEC the way you experienced it. All right. So touching on those
Mhm.
lines of development and touching on those lines on creating a sustainable ISEC, what I want to know is to like, when we look at ISEC, when we look at the kind of contribution our members give to ISEC, sometimes it's very hard to distinguish how this adds up and helps someone's personal life or professional life. And you being a person who has reached great heights in ISEC and it has shaped you in so many different ways to become the person you are today, we would love to hear how your experiences in ISEC has enriched your personal and professional life up to this date, how it has kind of empowered you to understand things from a personal and professional perspective much more better. So we would really love to get your insight on how that has helped you and how it could possibly help more ISECers as well.
Okay, cool. So I think from my side, so this is a very interesting question, right? One thing that I remember like even throughout in my AIESEC journey in past couple of years, there has been movements. For sure, I was thinking, oh, is it worth what I'm doing right now? Is it actually going to add value to myself in the future, right? And then at some point I was like, oh yeah, like maybe like it's not. Maybe you should go out and find a job, or maybe you should like go to a career or something. But I believe like one thing is that uh, this is also something that like someone mentioned to me like when I was like actually going through this kind of period, and someone told me like what you're looking for is actually it's inside the cave that you enter. Like I think this is a very famous quote, and in terms of if at some point if you're thinking, oh, should I actually do this, should I actually do so, this me to go ahead and do what I want to do, then maybe that might be something that you actually want in your life in the future, and maybe that might be something that gonna connect to you or whatever the thing that you want to achieve. I think like one thing that I'm seeing in the organization is that if you ask me what gives it the most is gives some platform for you to find what you really want to do, or if I say like what your passion is, right? So I think that is the most important part. I don't know like if you have faced this dilemma in at some point of your life, and maybe like you might be familiar with what I'm saying, like you don't really know whether this is exactly what you want to do, but this is what you are doing right now. So because of that, you keep doing it, and maybe you try to figure out something else in the future. Like maybe you don't really have a clear idea where you're going to end up, but you cannot say no to whatever that you're doing right now. So because of that, you keep doing it, keep continuing it. But at some point like the people can end up in two different places. People like either can be, oh, they realize, okay, this is exactly what I want to do, this is what I love to do, and they keep doing that in the rest of their life. And or maybe like people will feel frustrated, oh, this is not what I want to do, but there's no going back for me right now, and they live each and every day of their life with regrets, like a lot of frustrations. So this was more scary for me than the afraid or the fear that I was having, whether not knowing whether this will actually add value to me. Like it was more scary to think, okay, I will spend a life that is full of regrets, than thinking, oh, like I don't really know what's going to happen next. It's more right. So like I think eventually, like with after a couple of years, it gives me a clear direction, um, in terms of looking, okay, what I really like to do, right? And in terms of in the last couple of years, actually, like I got a chance to see, oh, like I want to be in this kind of a position or this kind of a career option in the future. And then along with that, like then I can see my things I have been doing so far in ISAC in the past couple of years, how it connect with what I want to do, as well as things that I want to do, I can do in future in organization, how it can connect what I want to do. So all these things, I think that connect at some point. Okay, this is specifically for me. There are different people who are comfortable with different things. Like there are people who need to know with certainty, like what is the future for them going to look like. There are people who are, it's okay, like I don't need to know certainly like for the next 5-6 years is going to be look like, and then because of that I can take whatever the path that I want to take. So if you're that kind of person, then maybe you are very because I'm that kind of person, I don't really need to know exactly how it's going to look like for me. So because of that, I'm more comfortable with uncertainty. But people, if you want for certainty, you like either you can go for one path in terms of looking into exactly what you want to achieve, and then how the organization can contribute. Something that we are famously saying back then is like, ISAC cannot give you everything, but you can take anything from ISAC, right? So it's more like if you know like what you want to get, if you know what you want to achieve, then it's not that hard for you to find that in the organization, and then it's actually something that you can work for. So I believe like this is kind of a journey has been for me, like connecting what I want to do in the future, and I'm very happy that I gained some skills and competencies like along the way working this organization. And but apart from that, I believe like it's not of course it's not a uh, like smooth journey. Like there will be a lot of ups and downs, which you have to accept. Yeah, I believe that's for me.
Amazing, amazing. I mean, just understanding on that journey, and even when I'm able to like personally reflect on it, it really gives the experience that Isaac gives you really gives you a sense of understanding on what it is that you truly want in life, and what shapes a lot of perspective. I really can relate and agree to your story and how you particularly put all those things forward. All right. So, sort of moving on to a very dynamic part of our conversation today, and it's about COVID-19, and it's about the way leadership and the world view has changed around this subject. And something that I've always admired about ISEC was the fact that the organization is very dynamic and it keeps changing, and there are lots of the new elements that are coming in. But COVID 19 was something, the pandemic was something that really changed like perspectives of organizations and businesses and every single entity about the way things need to change. And the leaders today are experiencing in ISEC, the leadership that ISEC produces now, they're experiencing something completely different. So what I want to know is like, how do you think that ISEC, especially in the current age, at the current moment, can empower leaders to survive this crisis and to develop leadership in the process?
So I think I think this pandemic situation was very interesting in the past year in terms of a lot of organizations or a lot of people had to reflect back on how they operate or how they work with people and what kind of work culture that they drive or what kind of organization culture that they drives. So I think like it was common for Isaac as well, like looking into, I think we should be like one of the first organizations to like get affected from this pandemic, because of course like we do exchange, right? And like that is the most important part for us, and then that is should be something that we need to be reflecting. I think like I think like apart from that, if you look into the external context, we saw how much leadership matters in this time period, like how much, what kind of role that leadership is need to play in this kind of time period. We saw some leaders are struggling to make like a right decision, or even worse, we saw some leaders like making the wrong decisions and not accepting that it was wrong. And we saw some people lacking of empathy, like toward what's going through, like toward other people. Like I think like this is, and if I actually reflect, like it gives me like three things that I think this pandemic taught us, like major three things about leadership. The first thing is that you don't need to be in a leadership position to become a leader. I think that is something very important. We saw people like taking care of the community. We saw like there are people rising up to the occasion and doing the right thing behind for the community around them and trying to provide the best, or like making creating and like um, it can be creating a better community for everyone. And we saw like another thing that we observe is like empathy is crucial skill for any leader. Like we saw that leaders need to be looking after the people that they're following, or people around them, or people in the organization. And even like you cannot empathize only for the person anymore in this particular situation, because people are like coming with families, and there's a lot of other things that are going on. They're taking care of like the overall life of the people entangled with everything that's going on. So which means that as a leader you need to be taking care of all this stuff. So the empathy is not only about or how you feel today, like no, that's not enough anymore. Like it should be about like exactly understanding whatever the things that people are going through, and trying to adapt to that, or trying to provide and support for that. We see in that we see the real leadership, as well as we saw like um, how you manage crisis, how much you are being, how much decisions that you can take in this how fast that you can adapt, how fast that you can make create decisions and understand like your organization, and how you can make sure that you are surviving in there. How we saw organizations trying to adapt and being agile like toward whatever thing that's going on. So I think like looking into Isaac, like we have been telling this for a long period of time. If you're actually looking, like we are talking about we believed in leadership. We are talking about, oh, leaders are not born, leaders are made. We believe like everyone can become a leader, and then we believe like leadership has these fundamental qualities, and this is kind of leaders that we want to create, right? And then if you look in, like we talk about example, we talk about being solution oriented. This is all about like like making decisions, ensure that you're agile enough. You're making like whatever the crises that coming in your way, how you can keep ensuring that you're moving forward with that situation. We talk about the qualities like empowering others. Where we talk about how the how you can like work with other people around you and allowing them to become better version of themselves. We talk about leadership qualities like world citizens, where like we are aware of whatever what's happening around us, and becoming the we adapt to that situation. So likewise, I think like all these leadership qualities that we talk, I think it comprises of it comprises of things that we need in a that we individual can is required for like to become better leader in a long period of time, but in this pandemic period allowed us to see how much it is important in a short period of time. So I think this is very, that's why I'm saying this is a very interesting pandemic, or this is a very interesting situation where it allowed us to reflect a lot. So I believe like the organization, the fundamentals are very clear, and fundamentals will allow you to being that creating that leader that the world requires, because that's at the end of the day, that's what we want to achieve. We want to achieve the world peace. We want to achieve, make sure that the leaders are making the right decision to avoid these conflicts, and allowing them to uh, like create a better world, better community. So the fundamentals allowing us to do that, but it's all about execution. It's all about like how we're going to do it. So I think that is the part that we need to be looking hardly inside, like, and see like, oh yeah, like, is this the only way that we can do this? Can we do it like any other way? Like what more that we can do, like how we can engage more youth, how we can create a bigger impact to our community. So if you talk about like we talk about engage and develop every young person in the world, which is a very pretty huge goal. And so yeah, so I think these are the things that we actually need to like thinking about, and if we are actually need to like get a bigger impact in this situation.
And definitely, like I was looking forward to that interesting idea on how like agility is an important concept at the moment with leadership, because if we see with everything that's happening in the world, it just pushes the leaders that we have right now to think out of the box. And innovation and agility is a concept that is continuously pushed out, and that was something that I actually seeked, and I'm really happy for the answer that I got. And yes, you did answer the question. All right. So moving on to my next question. This is something that I believe that every single person who went through the pandemic can answer in some different way. But I believe for someone like you who has been in ISEC, an organization that is dynamic, and you've experienced different things in the organization, but what I want to know is, during the COVID-19 pandemic, what was your key learning out of it, or how did you come out of this process, this pandemic, and what kind of learning did you acquire during this process?
I think like, yeah, pandemic hit like all of us in very different ways. um it believe, I mean, like it's depend on like where you are, like what you're doing, and most of things, like sometimes like to be honest, like I was like, most of people around me was privileged enough, like we didn't really see the extremes of the pandemic. Like that is something that I'm grateful for. But of course, like, which means that there are people who out there like who experience a lot of extremes from the pandemic. I think the situation, we cannot even like start to see like where what are the experiences that they had to go through, which is something that of course like to we need to consider looking to the community. But I think like talking about me, I think it was very interesting, because I think like for me, like when the pandemic was hitting, like I was actually in Philippines, like we were in the regional office, and then we directly went into like I think that was the longest lockdown we ever had in like any country. It's around 80 days lockdown, where you couldn't like leave the house, like there's nothing, and like all this stuff, which is in another country, and living in like same environment for a long period of time. I think like this is one thing, that one important thing that I was learning is that how much it is like, how important it is that you focus, you pay attention to your mental well-being. I think this is something we start talking a lot even with the pandemic situation. I don't know whether now it's being like cliche or like talking about like mental health, but I don't think it should be. I think it should be something that we should always be talking about, like mental health. I think it's something that's, to be honest, I think sometimes we don't really pay attention to this because the life goes by, right? Like it's life happening, like there's a lot of things happening around your life. You go out, you meet friends, or like sometimes you, yeah, I don't know, sometimes like you have a lot of dynamic things that you can focus on, which you can make your life interesting. But in this kind of situation, you see like, oh, you don't have a lot of options, and it can actually affect to the mental well-being of yourself. And you can actually see like sometimes you feel doesn't really your energy is lagging. It physically affects you, like how you maintain your relationship with other people, how you being part of a team, or like how you contribute to something bigger, or like the even your work and all this stuff. It completely changed, right? So I think this is something that's something that I want to pass down a message for everyone as well, in terms of taking care of yourself. Like it has not been an priority, or it has not been like something we put a lot of attention into, but we should, like at the end of the day, like it's individually, like individually, like you should be be in a good state, like if whatever that you want to do, like that comes with like maintaining your health as well. So like I think that is something that I want to add, and something that a bigger learning that I got. I think another thing that I nothing one interesting thing is that I think another one of bigger learning is that when we push to the edge, how much things that we can do. Like we saw different people doing million things. Like we saw a lot of innovation coming in, like inside AIESEC, outside AIESEC, like even different markets. We saw new softwares, new apps, new things that come in to help different people. We saw new systems like being implemented. We saw new organization bills set up, like to address different issues that going on. So like, and they're like elegant solutions as well, like example that it's something that we're using right now in Zoom. Like these kind of solutions were there, but like people move to this technological transformation or digital transformation that we're looking for, we're trying to achieve in more past couple of years. It happened like all of a sudden. Like it's not that we don't have the capacity, it's just that it's all about the urgency of the people. That is something that I learned. It's I'm not saying like, okay, we should be creating an urgency every day so that people will be doing better. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is like there's a lot of potential inside people that we don't really realize, and if we actually can explore that, there can be a lot of different beautiful things that we can come out of it. There we saw like a lot of people, like I don't know, even like right now, if you go on like Instagram in Sri Lanka, you can see a lot of people, they're running their own businesses. Even like a lot of, you see like a lot of small businesses coming in a way, which is something really good. Like that is something that we really need. We need entrepreneurs, we need innovators, like in the country, in any economy, so like that we can build a bigger, better economy for like overall for the country. So I think this kind of pandemic situation allowed people to explore these potentials that they never really explored, and create something bigger or something better for the community, for the world. So I think these are like, I think if you ask me like two key things, like this is, I think I would say these are two major learnings that I had from the pandemic period.
Wow, that's really intriguing. Like looking at how someone can grow even out of a crisis is something that is very unique. Uh, I just want to like add something very interesting that once I heard. I actually read this with John F. Kennedy. How he defined the word crisis. So he said it was in ancient Chinese. I'm not sure if I recall this properly, but crisis in ancient Chinese is also another word for opportunity, which presents an opportunity in disguise. So what I felt was like in the pandemic, many people, what they realized is that this was a great time to actually learn something. Even in a crisis, there's always an opportunity to find yourself. Okay, moving on, we have a very interesting segment, and this is going to be a fun segment, and it's going to be a total surprise for Isuru, I hope. So we are going to go to the rapid fire round questions. Yes, and in the
Okay.
rapid fire, what we're going to be doing is I'll ask you a series of questions and you can answer them. But the catch is you have to answer very quickly quickly. So you can't take a lot of time. You have to answer quickly, and this is going to intrigue us also, and our audience is going to get to know you in a much more different and informal manner. Cool. Okay. So the first question for the rapid fire is: if a genie granted you three wishes, what would you wish for?
Oh, uh, okay. I think my first wish would be, given that I cannot ask for more wishes, and I think I think my first wish would be like for sure create a world without boundaries. Like this is more okay, to be honest, like go in be specific, create a world without visas. So I don't know if you like if you travel like try to travel in like different worlds, you might have experience like this is not something that I don't even understand the concept of visa. And but yeah, I think like one thing would be world without visa, and then second one would be yeah, I think like I would say more empathy, like to everyone. I don't know, like so people can understand each other better. I think for me, um, okay, I would say this is okay. This is for me. Like I just wish I could get
Finally, something for you.
um, yes, and this is I would say I would get a chance to. I don't know whether you watched the movie Jumper. Like this is something that very interesting
No,
superpower that
I
I
haven't watched it.
okay, so this is this jumper movie. It's more like you can like go to any place where you think of in from a movement. So like yeah, I think that is like teleportation.
So
Yeah.
that's super cool. I mean, even in your wishes, like the way you look at it is very wonderful. Like you see the bigger picture, which is something that I really want our listeners to take from this. Okay, second question: what would you tell your younger self? Like, what advice would you give to the younger Isuru?
Uh, okay, I think the best advice that I can give is like everything will be okay um because I think like that is something that when I look back, like I was very sometimes I feel like I was very panicked about like, oh, am I going with my what I'm doing with my life, and like what the hell that's gonna happen to me in the future and stuff like that. But I think like yeah, I think like while now I'm looking back, I think everything happened for a very good reason. So like I'm that if I can say something, that would be like yeah, everything will be okay. So yeah, I think that's the only advice that I can give.
Third question: are you a morning or a night person?
Night person.
Nice, that's good. Okay, where would you go if you were invisible?
Where would I go if I was invisible? I would probably okay.
Come on, it's a rapid fire. You can't take too long.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm taking too much time. But I think like I would take I would know I would probably go to like some like sacred or like where you cannot it's prohibited for people to enter like
Ooh.
place like that. I actually don't know like what exactly it would be. But I'm very intrigued by I'm a very curious person. So like I like to see what behind that door.
I think maybe Area 51.
Yeah, probably if I'm not getting shot at, like then it's
All right. What is your biggest addiction?
okay. Considering I think my biggest addiction is okay. This is hard. Um, I would say Netflix.
Oh my
I
god.
would probably say Netflix. I don't know. Like it's yeah. It's a little bit time consuming and but mostly yeah. But it's sometimes
What did you last watch on Netflix?
I think last new thing that I watched on Netflix is this movie called it's about this guy climbing Mountain Everest. I don't really remember like the name,
Oh,
but it's very interesting. There's a black guy climbing Mountain Everest to like
nice.
win the heart of a girl. So like that's so
Ooh.
pretty. But yeah, I'm currently watching Breaking Bad again, so which is something.
This one is very interesting. If you could talk to the president, what would you talk about?
I'll probably talk about the. This is very easy because I have thought about it a lot of time. I would
Hmm.
think about the youth engagement
All right.
because I think that is something we are missing out. I think like this is in terms of um, why it's that because I think like right now like there's a lot of we have always this has a complaint right there's a lot of old people gathering to a room and trying to make decision for young people on behalf of young people, but I believe like it should be a combination of both of these perspectives, and young people should have a say in the policy making directly, and there should be a board or like there should be a council that can provide this.
Yes, that's very interesting. Okay, back to a more fun question. So, would you date an actress or a supermodel?
Can I just neither? I mean, it's
You have to select one.
uh, 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 I don't know. Like it doesn't really matter. Like I would date the person. Like I don't know. Like it's
Come on, ask the
okay.
young Isuru. Ask the young Isuru.
Okay, I would say actress. I would say actress.
All right.
Because yeah, it's more like a lot of fame comes with that.
Yeah, I think it's like an actress can also become a supermodel.
True. It's
Okay.
skill based. Okay. Both of them are skill based professions.
Being a Sri Lankan boy, I want to know your answer on this. A beach house or a lake house?
I don't know why you're putting the Sri Lankan thing in front of this because they're expecting me to say it's beach house, but I would probably say lake house. Recently I
Ooh.
discovered that I like because lakes comes with the calmness, which yeah, I think like it's something that I would enjoy.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. So a sports car or a yacht?
Um,
Oh God, you're taking too long.
okay, sports car.
Right, nice. TV shows or movies? Now this, since you're a Netflix fan, I want to know.
Okay, I think movies.
Movies, nice.
Yes.
It takes, I mean, the problem with TV shows that I find is that it just takes too long to finish it, and you get hooked on it, and it becomes a problem.
Yes, that's a major problem. And then as well as like one more thing is that if you come on the halfway and if it is like not that good, you cannot give up on it. Like you should finish it anyway. And it's a
Yeah.
long time commitment that you are entering into your life. So like yeah.
Okay. This is something that I personally want to know. So, do you work out at home or at the gym?
I would say home. Because I'm not going to gym.
So that means it's like neither, right?
I'll still keep home because it's something that I'm trying to do, not working out, but at least like a little bit more exercise. So like
Nice. Okay. So if you this is something about eating. So I'm going to be very
okay.
specific on this. So if you had one thing to eat going forward for every day in your life, what would you eat?
Okay, this is very specific dish. I like this dish very much. Um, it's called bonnet. This is it's a Vietnamese dish, and which is basically like it's beef. It's like a beef based dish, and it's fried beef, and it comes with a lot of eggs and as well as come with this French bread, which is pretty cool, and which is something that it's one of my favorite dish from Vietnam. So I would say I would keep eating that.
Okay. Final rapid fire would be: are you excited for the life in ISEC or the life after ISEC?
Oh, this is a tricky one. I'm excited for the both.
You're pick one. You have to pick one.
Okay, I think I'm excited for the life after ISEC because one thing is that okay, life in ISEC it's not gonna be like forever, right? So you're gonna leave at some point. But then I think the most exciting factor would be like, oh, how we can bring this to outside world and like implement it like with the other people out there, right? And it's gonna be the real challenge. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, amazing. And for the listeners, like Isuru has been a staggering 6 years in ISEC, and I'm hoping that he stays for another 2-3 years, and then he'll move on with his life. Okay, all right. So that's it for the rapid fire round. I hope it was like entertaining for you, and you you had some fun also after a good serious conversation. Okay, so moving on to the final part of this conversation, and there's a famous saying which is where there's a will, there's a way. Simply what it means is that if you have the drive and the passion to do something, you will end up achieving your goal, and you will end up doing great things in the process. So finally, Israel, being the president of ISEC in Sri Lanka 1819, being the first regional director from ISEC in Sri Lanka to go to ISEC International, and putting your mark in the world, and someone who has achieved your goals and who keeps day in and out inspiring the young people in ISEC in Sri Lanka to become better. What is your message to the membership of ISEC in Sri Lanka who would shape up and who actually are looking to create their mark and their presence, and who are actually trying to find that way in the future? What is your message?
That's a lot of gravity to that question. But I think I understand what you mean in terms of. Okay, I think like um, if I can give the best thing that I can tell is that like identify your passion. Like this is thing. Like this is about if you're absolutely sure like this is what you want to do rest of your life, and then because we talk about I think the if I look back into the organization vision, the one thing that I connected most with uh, humankind potential, achieving humankind potential, fulfilling humankind potential, which is a very interesting word in terms of for me like what is humankind potential. Like it's like when it ends, like it doesn't end, like it's not supposed to end, like it keeps going on, right? It's there shouldn't be an end to like your potential, right? So and then it like each one of us in this world like has given this opportunity like to do something great, and if you're wasting that doing every day like waking up and like doing something that you really hate, and that is what you're doing for the rest of your life, then actually like that is a huge waste. So I think like identify your passion and like then do what you really want to do. ISEC can help you with that. ISEC is a platform that actually can help you to do that. We have a lot of resources, there are a lot of people, a lot of this is a community. Like that's what I like the most about this organization.
Very
It's
true.
not about like anything. It's all about like you're part of this community and like, you're given this privilege to like access to this community, like even alumni like for like 20 years ago, like 10 years ago, like talk to anyone. If you say ISEC, like they will be glad to like talk to you. So keep exploring about yourself and ensure that you're identifying your passion. And so I think that yeah, that is the thing that you can do best, and then become the best version of yourself. That is the most important thing. Like even though like every day if you wake up and if you say, oh, I couldn't do this, that one of my responsibility that I was supposed to do, but I actually learned something out of it, or actually grow something, I can actually see that I learned something from going through this process, then actually you have done contributed something. So I think we actually trying to like see like, oh, how we gonna influence like whole community of youth is by through one by one. So you as part of youth, young person in this world, in this country, you have responsibility to become a better version of yourself, and being that will be the greatest thing that you can do. It's not selfish. It's absolutely not selfish. Like because we might have thought like, oh, like you should not be like better than people out there. Like maybe if there's someone who's telling you that's not what it is. Like it means that I think the greatest quote that we have been like using in couple of years is like the biggest fear that anyone we have is like not that we are not capable, but we are um, so powerful beyond our measure, right? So this is by being better version of yourself, like you inviting other people to be better versions of themselves. So I think yeah, that's the best thing that I can tell you. Find your passion, be the best version of yourself, and then you're good to go.
Thank you very much for those words, and just for the listeners also. What I think you have to take back from this experience is that it is okay that sometimes in life you will come from certain places, you will come from different scenarios of life, different walks of life. But if you have the courage and if you have that motivation and that belief that you want to change something and inspire yourself to become much more, then you can. And I think Isuru Premathilaka is the living example of that. What I always have been fascinated about him is that his simplicity, his authenticity has enabled him to grab the opportunities, humble himself, be smart, and learn in the process, and achieve what he has achieved in his life. So, Isurai, thank you very much for being a part of this podcast with us and really sharing your experience and the learning and that interesting journey of what it took you to come to where you are right now. And definitely I'm looking forward to all the great things that you will achieve in the life during your these final years in ISEC, and also the life after ISEC. Thank you very much for being a part of this podcast with us.
Thank you so much, Arfan. Thank you for having me here. It is a great pleasure to be here and working with you guys, Tilina. Yeah, so really appreciate everyone, and it's a great job, guys. Keep continue doing this. Like to see what you are doing for in the future in AIESEC in Sri Lanka.
Wonderful, amazing. And to our audience, that was it for the second episode of the Through the Eyes of a Trendsetter podcast. And this is a proud production of the National Showcasing team. Once again, a huge shout out and thanks goes out to them. And definitely, we are looking forward to seeing all the great personalities and the different kinds of conversations that we will be having throughout as this podcast goes. So, I really implore the audience and our viewers to stick with us and engage and listen to different kinds of topics and different fields of lives that we will be touching in as we go on. So, that was it for the second episode of this podcast, and see you in the next one.